Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys about something I call "That's Not Happening," and "That's Not Happening" is a bit of it's the chamber. It is the space that exists around anyone who can watch this video. It is the effort, the mass. This mass is "That's Not Happening," and what "That's Not Happening" is the same thing as the mass of just refusal, just even when something makes sense, just choosing not to do it. It's that developed mass. That's not happening. Now, the way "That's Not Happening" works is that you've got nothing something, which leads to concept equation, which is in a hold on, let me change my hand. In a given measurement of what's possible. Hold on, I got like grease or something on my camera. What the fuck? Hold on. Okay. Logical equations can line up to make for something to make sense. This is like I said, two people have a disagreement. Hold on, I gotta draw this right quick. And so they both put in their concepts, their logical ideas into the screen, and thus a logical simulation occurs between them until they reach a conclusion. And so what it is this concept, this concept, this concept, plus these concepts, plus this concept, plus this concept equals this logical conclusion, given that all of those concepts are put into a logical simulation between two people observing to compete with one another. And we can talk about the technicality of two people just disagreeing about how something would go. That's why it's not just one concept. That's why you always express more concepts. Like, let's say in a concept between who would win a fight, a shark or another shark, it's always less about fighting here and saying, no, this shark will win, no, fuck you, this shark will win, and saying, well, this shark has all of these skills and all of these abilities. This shark has all of these skills and all of these abilities. Now that cancels the whole "what if you guys just disagree" argument, because things can be figured out. So logical conclusion occurs. However, what ends up happening is if one of the people don't like the conclusion, their flesh chooses not to participate. This creates mass. That's not happening. Meaning the logical conclusion is there. It's occurring, but the flesh is not choosing to participate in it. That is the condition of "that's not happening." And the way this works is the flesh can choose one of two reasons, which is basically the same reason. One, opinion of politics, or the desire of control. What this means is, if the flesh has to encounter a logical conclusion that it cannot control, that it does not get what it wants, then it can choose not to participate in that logical conclusion. But however, here's how these things work. Because there are so many things that lead up to the hardening of flesh. The ideas, nothing something specific thing, nothing something, anything, everything, specific thing, choice, all that stuff. So what it means is all of this is occurring before flesh or with flesh. All of this is occurring before flesh can act, right? All of this is here before flesh makes sense. So flesh is right here. All of this is still occurring. What flesh chooses to do whenever it acts on "that's not happening," which is, this argument didn't go the way that I wanted to control you, and you made it make sense for me not to be able to do that, so that's not happening. And so "that's not happening" breaks the logical conclusion, it contains the logical conclusion and tries to ignore it. The flesh just starts acting. What it does is this: the flesh, even though all of this is still occurring, all of the logic, all of the nothing, something, everything, anything, specific thing, all of that is still occurring. All of the logic that justifies what makes sense, everything that makes our thinking work, everything that connects our thinking is still happening. But the flesh is almost, let's say, this is a whole structure, right? This, and then the flesh, right? What the flesh is doing is, even though all of these connect, it's going off, and it's saying, no, I don't want to do any of that. And so the flesh is just kind of running away and doing anything else. Where is it? Doing anything else. The flesh is saying, no, fuck that. I don't want to participate in this. That's fucking dumb. Because it wanted to be able to control things, and this is not the route that leads it to the kind of control it wants. And so, while the flesh is not participating in this whole structure of everything that's happening, because flesh is not the only thing that's happening, or else there would be no need for words. So, flesh is not the only thing that's happening, but flesh wants to control everything. Flesh finds out that it can't control everything based on all this logic, so flesh goes, that's not happening. And so what ends up happening is stuff like what we're going through, where I make sense, I'm completely underneath the surface of what everyone's doing, and the longer that we choose not to actually accept what I'm saying because it is logical, it makes sense, it's fair, even as you listen to the people try to use logical structures and Logicate to try and claim that they don't understand what all this is, and they still think that this thing is more believable, even though this thing explains way more of what's going on. These people are just, you can ignore them now, and if they attack, be ruthless. That's how I think about that. And they'll sit there and they'll try to act like it's a large group of them and they all agree to it and they just can't see how it's possible. They're lying, they're faking, they just want to see if you'll fall for it. It's in that. So flesh chooses not to participate in all this, but all this is still happening even if flesh doesn't want to do it. And so what happens is stuff like this, where I'm making sense, you can almost hear my voice, you can almost feel my presence, we're talking without talking, we're seeing that all the stuff I'm saying is right, even though flesh is running from it. Flesh knows that all this stuff is making sense, and flesh is like kind of juking it. Remember those memes? Remember those memes where it was don't let them reach your next move, and what it was they would just fucking. That's what flesh is doing. They're just doing that. Flesh is just doing that. Flesh is saying you're not gonna make sense of me, and it's choosing not to participate in this. But this is still happening even if flesh doesn't want to show it. And so what happens is over time, flesh becomes too illogical to survive and to justify its continued protection. So what this means is, as the flesh abandons this structure, that is when your primal things start to happen. That's when everything becomes a sexual competition. Everything becomes a cuck race. Everything becomes a fight. Everything becomes, if no one can stop me, then I will. That's when we all start becoming like animals, because that's what animals are. Animals are flesh that have abandoned the logical structure of everything in order to try and control everything, but it turns it into animalistic warfare. And so at this point, being that I'm still right and I haven't done anything wrong outside of self-defense, which means I still haven't done anything wrong, that as the flesh becomes immoral, as the flesh chooses to do things like push me towards death, to try and scare me and to try and cause a tragedy state of thinking that makes me unfair and makes me commit crimes, the flesh starts to become less justified. Now, this is usually how the hood starts. The hood starts whenever all this made sense and people were just being so illogical. They're saying, man, but I don't fucking want that. Man, fuck this. And they just start going off and they become animals. They stop using logic, and now what flesh does is flesh is just measuring its own existence. And everything becomes like a mechanical interaction between flesh. Like two bodies. Everything that can happen between two bodies without any ideas. Without ideas, where is it? Without ideas, anything that can happen between two bodies is happening, which means you got piss, shit, cum, fuck, fight, spit. You got all of these things that happen between a body, and this is usually what the lower state of thinking is, because it abandons structure whenever that structure doesn't lead to it having control, and it thinks that doing this is going to give it control, but it's actually going to put it in danger and cause fighting. Because if you notice, the people who end up becoming king or queen in these situations are the people that end up structuring bodies down using logical structure. Even in the state where you guys could try to go to this state of being, logical structure is still what controls everyone. So, all that being said, we can see that I'm very much correct. I'm very much successful underneath the surface, given that this is still happening, even though I'm in an attempt to kill me, in an attempt to scare me and cause tragedy. I still got all that stuff over there. I'm still eating hot dogs. I'm still making sense. I'm still right. Even though I'm supposed to be suffering, because that's what everyone wants to do to me, to make me like lose the whole. That's what traging is. Traging will do this, though. That's what this is. I logically make sense. Flesh is saying that's not happening, and it's trying to hold that until the logic becomes scrambled and unfair. When that becomes scrambled and unfair, it becomes abandoned, and my flesh becomes like all the other flesh that doesn't want to participate in larger logic. It becomes piss, cum, shit, spit, fight, or fuck. That's what it all becomes. That's what it becomes. So as you guys become that and I don't, but you guys feel good about yourselves because at your low state of thinking, you couldn't figure out how to get out of my situation and you keep ignoring the logical structure of what's happening, I am going to think over your head and I am going to make more things happen without your consent because you did choose this path thinking that there would be no consequences. Flesh became too illogical to survive and justified its continued protection. So, that's pretty much what's going on. Anyone that's willing to accept this at this point, it's still working. It's still happening. Like I said, at this point, I'm able to fucking beam thoughts into people's heads if I want. That's how unrealistic all this shit is getting because flesh won't participate. So yeah, what else is there? Yeah, just let that's not happening go, and everything will be fine. And yeah, that's really all it is. There's something else I feel like I can say here. Just give me 1 second. Give me like 30 seconds to see if there's something else I can say. I guess if flesh participates in this, everything lines up again, and all that stuff that piss, shit, cum, spit, fight, or fuck can't figure out as being possible, it starts becoming possible to all the bodies that are stuck in that state of thinking. All the things, all those basic realizations, cause in piss, shit, cum, spit, fight, or fuck, civilization is hardly possible. Civilization is hardly a possible thing. And so when you accept this state of thinking by choosing that's not happening, you pretty much can't even think of basic logical structures that create civilization and success. It's pretty much just a win here. I mean, I might suffer for a little bit. I might go through a hard time. And even if I die to these people's perception, because remember, they all became flesh. That means that they lost track of. Here's the thing: flesh does not make sense as existing without ideas. Flesh does not make sense as existing without ideas. Even if a human being is not around to perceive the idea of an idea, ideas are still things. So flesh doesn't make sense without idea. Flesh doesn't make sense without logic. Because if it did, flesh could be that my fucking veins were all closed off and my blood was still running through it. Even logically speaking, flesh still has to be logical according to its own occurrence. So flesh cannot abandon logic without severe consequences. So all this stuff becomes possible. Me dying, but you guys not seeing it because you guys chose to do that's not happening, even though that was what was supposed to happen because it was the most logical thing, but you wanted to have control. You all stopped being able to see how certain things were possible, so I'm just going to do them and you're not going to see it. Or this video might actually fucking paralyze you with real fear and you might change, which is what needs to happen, even if you're prideful, which is what flesh becomes. Hold on. So yeah. Man, I feel like there's still something else I could say here. That's what all this is. All this is like every time somebody was about to be successful and that was the logical conclusion, flesh said, oh no, fuck that, I don't want that. And then started fucking trashing people so that they would become homeless or they would start doing fucked up things because when something unfair happens to you and you can't explain it, your reaction to try and make it right is unfair as a result. And when flesh is being unfair, flesh will pretend that it doesn't know it sets you up to be that way and just say you committed a crime. And now all this stuff that you developed, now that's why you can't have it. Because when we all made him fucking starving and hungry, he stole. When we all made him starving and hungry, he stole. He's a thief now. And that's why he can't have it. And that's what flesh does here. So y'all are in danger. Y'all need to change. Let me be happy. Don't fucking complain. Don't cry. That's what the fuck this is. I know y'all are thinking I'm an asshole here, like I'm threatening you or like I need to fight, but I really fucking don't. Cause you know what? That's what all that shit is right there. That's what that shit is right there. I'm right, whether you like it or not. And you need to fucking like it because that makes sense, okay? Do what you want here, but it better be the right fucking thing. Cause you don't got much of this left.